The defeat of Democrat Martha Coakley by Republican Scott Brown for the U.S. Senate seat in Massachusetts not only affects Massachusetts, it has huge ramifications for the Obama administration's agenda. Earlier, I spoke to Times political editor Dick Stevenson, and I started by asking him, what do the Democrats do now? Dick, the loss by Democrat Martha Coakley to Scott Brown in the Senate race in Massachusetts has rocked both parties, of course, in different ways. Let's talk first about the Democrats and what they might be trying to do to recover from this. What can they do?
Well, I think there are both short-term and long-term answers to that question. In the short term, the immediate question they face is whether or not they can go ahead with President Obama's health care bill, and if they do, whether it needs to be scaled back. That is a subject that will be intensely debated on the Hill and at the White House for several days. Then there's the question of political strategy going ahead for the midterm elections in November, and really it's probably not too early for people in the White House to be thinking about how Obama positions himself heading into 2012 in the wake of this. On that latter score, I think what you're going to see is probably a president who strikes, on the one hand, a much more populist tone that seeks to co-opt and channel the anger that was clearly being expressed by voters in the Massachusetts race, but at the same time makes a nod to some of the more conservative complaints that this race brought into starker relief, particularly when it comes to the country's fiscal condition and the need to attack budget deficits and the national debt. Already, you're seeing the White House taking action on both of those scores even before the polls closed in Massachusetts.
Dick, it's so striking that you're saying this because certainly President Obama rode into office on some of those populist themes about Washington being mired in gridlock, about lack of transparency, about the state of the economy, about health care. How in such a short time did the tables get turned?
Well, for one thing, the Democrats are in charge now. Obama got elected. To the degree that this was about anti-incumbent mood out in the country, and that some of that carried over from 2008, the Democrats are the natural targets here. They're in power, they are the incumbent party, and that voter anger is being directed at them now rather than at George Bush and the Republicans. So that is definitely part of it. Having said that, there is also, I think, clearly a reaction to the way that Obama and the Democrats have governed over the last year.
Conversely, Dick, the Republicans, although they expected they would win, how do they capitalize on this, or what does it mean for how they may handle their issues differently, or does it?
Well, to some degree, I think that this victory in Massachusetts by Scott Brown validates the Republican strategy in Congress over the last year of opposing Obama at every turn. If their goal here was to block Democratic legislation and try to persuade the country that Obama and the Democrats had overreached, then the results in Massachusetts seem to suggest that they anticipated the mood of the country pretty accurately. Now, going forward, the Republicans, I think, are going to have trouble continuing to run as just on the platform of saying no to Obama and the Democrats. At some point, they're going to have a more positive, forward-looking agenda, and I think you're already seeing the House Republicans beginning to grapple with that by putting together a kind of 2010 version of a contract with America.